Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today you'll be learning a lesson written by M.K. Gandhi and it is called as What is Moral Action? So let's begin. When can it be said that a particular action is moral? In asking this question, the intention is not to contrast moral with immoral actions, but to consider many of our everyday actions against which nothing can be said from the conventional standpoint and with some regard as moral. Most of our actions are probably non moral. They do not necessarily involve morality. For the most part, we act according to the prevailing conventions. Such conventional behavior is often necessary. If no such rules are observed, anarchy would be the result, and social intercourse would come to an end. Still, the mere observance of custom and usage cannot properly be called morality. Mahatma Gandhi, he begins by asking a question. He's asking what particular action can be said as moral. So, what exactly is moral? It is nothing but dealing with the principles of right and wrong behavior, something about proper conduct. So, he's asking which action can you say that it is moral? So, by asking this question, he wants to tell us the intention is not to contrast moral and immoral actions. He does not want to say the exact difference between what is moral and what is immoral actions, but he just wants to point out that whatever we do, our everyday actions, which can be moral or immoral. So he wants to make the reader understand that every day your reactions, your actions, whether they are moral or immoral. And he also tells us that most of our actions are probably non moral, which does not involve any morality in our actions. Because most of the time we don't think about whether our action is moral or not. What we do is we act according to the situation, the conventions, whatever has already happened. And he also says that such behavior is often necessary, it is needed, because if such rules are not observed or not present, then they would result in anarchy. What is anarchy? Absence of governmental authority. There won't be any authority at all. And because of that, there might be an end to the society. If you are following the customs, even then you cannot exactly say that you are still being moral. It might go against morality. A moral act must be our own act, must spring from our own will. If we act mechanically, there is no moral content in our act. Such action would be moral if we think it proper to act like a machine and do so. For in doing so, we use our discrimination. We should bear in mind the distinction between acting mechanically and acting intentionally. It may be moral of a king to pardon a culprit, but the messenger bearing the order of pardon plays only a mechanical part in the king's moral act. But if the messenger were to bear the king's order, considering it to be his duty, his action would be a moral one. How can a man understand morality who does not use his own intelligence and power of thought, but lets himself be swept along like a log of wood by a current? Sometimes a man defies convention and acts on his own with a view to doing absolute good. Such a great hero was Wendell Phillips. Addressing an assembly of people, he once said, "Till you learn to form your own opinions and express them, I do not care much what you think of me." Thus, when we all care only for what our conscience says, then alone can we be regarded to have stepped onto the moral road. We shall not reach this stage as long as we do not believe and experience the belief that God within us, the God of all, is the ever present witness to all our acts. Now, here Mahatma Gandhi wants to say that a moral act must be your own act. It should come out from your own will, from your own intention. And if we act mechanically, then that moral act, what you do, is not a moral one. Such actions you cannot say to be moral if you are acting like a machine, or somebody tends to tell you something and you are doing because of they are saying, then that cannot be moral. So we must know the difference between acting mechanically or acting intentionally. It's all about our intentions. We should be clear that we should do something good. Then it can be taken as a moral act. So here he is giving an example. It may be moral of a king to pardon a culprit. If there is a culprit, there is a criminal under the rule of the king, and it is his duty or his intention if he wants to forgive the culprit. But if there is another person, a messenger, who comes and tells the king, it's better you forgive him, and then if the king forgives, then that cannot be a moral thing. Because why? It was not his intention, it was the messenger's intention. So you cannot say that the king was moral. But if the king himself would have told that he would have pardoned the culprit, and he told the messenger, and messenger would follow that order, then that would be a moral one, because it was done by his true intention. So now he is asking a question. He is asking that how can a man understand morality if that person doesn't have his own intelligence and power of thought? He can't think for himself, he can't make decisions for himself. Then how can he understand morality? Sometimes people go against traditions and they act on their own will. They do something that they feel is right. So here he is talking about such a great hero was Wendell Phillips as an example. He had addressed in a gathering of people, he had told that till you have or till you learn to form your own opinions and you're ready to express it, till you do that, I don't care what you think of me. So it depends first what you think, what are your opinions and how you want to express them. That matters if you want to step into a life or a road of morality. And we will not achieve this goal, or we won't achieve to that path, till we believe that God within us, the God of all, He is the ever present witness to all our acts. So He is the only judge to whatever we think of. Till then, if we don't believe this concept, till then we won't reach the road of morality. So unless you have a clear intention and you believe that God Himself is the only witness to all our acts, till then we won't reach the path of morality. It is not enough that an act done by us is in itself good. It should have been done with the intention to do good. That is to say, whether an act is moral or otherwise depends upon the intention of the doer. Two men may have done exactly the same thing, but the act of one may be moral and that of the other the contrary. Take for instance a man who out of great pity feeds the poor, and another who does the same, but with the motive of winning prestige or with some such selfish end. Though the action is the same, the act of the one is moral and that of the other non-moral. The reader here ought to remember the distinction between the two words, non-moral and immoral. It may be that we do not always see good results flowing from a moral act while thinking of morality, All that we need to see is that the act is good and is done with good intention. The result of an action is not within our control. God alone is the giver of fruit. Historians have called Emperor Alexander great. Wherever he went in the course of his conquest, he took the Greek language and Greek culture, arts and manners, and today we enjoy the benefits of Greek civilization. But the intention of Alexander behind all this was only conquest and renown. Who can therefore say that his actions were moral? It was all right that he was termed great, but moral he cannot be called. Now he is talking that an act done, you cannot say that it is good. It should have been done with the intention to do good. So whatever act you do, before doing it, you must think that you should have an intention that it is to do good to someone. Then that thing can be said as moral. Now again he's saying that is an act, whatever you do, is said to be moral or immoral. It depends on your intention. So here he explains this with an example. Now he's saying that two men may have done the same exact thing. For example, there's a poor outside and a man feels very sorry for him, so he goes and feeds that poor. Now there's another man who does the same. Now the intention of both the men who helped the poor is different. One did with pure intention, he just wanted to go and help him, whereas the other one had an intention of winning prestige. He wanted to be famous, or he wanted to just show off around the people. So if he had that intention, then that person or that person's act is not moral. You can say that it was immoral or non-moral. Whereas the first person who did it with true intention of helping that person, then that is, or that act is said to be moral. So here the reader must understand the difference between immoral and non-moral. Now normally if you see the meaning of non-moral and immoral, immoral, it refers to complete rejection of the moral standards, and it is a connotation of evil or wrongdoing. Whereas non-moral, it describes action that are not usually subjected to moral concerns. Now he says that every time whatever good you do, you cannot think that you will get good results. You cannot accept that whatever good you're doing, you cannot ask in return that it should yield good results. So while thinking of morality, all you need to think or you need to see is that whatever act you're doing is good and it is done with a good intention. You shouldn't think about the result, because that is not under your control, and that control is only in the hands of God alone, because he is the giver, the creator. So it's up to him. Now he talks about Emperor Alexander the Great. So we have all heard about Alexander the Great. So here he is telling that wherever he went for his conquest, so he took that Greek language and Greek culture and the arts and the manners and whatever it is we know about the Greek civilization today. But in what intention did he do? It was only for conquest and he wanted to be famous. So can anyone say that his actions were moral? You can say that okay, he was great, even he has done a lot, so he is the great Alexander, but you cannot say that his actions were moral, or you cannot say that whatever he did was moral, because it was not in a intention of doing good, it was in the intention of having fame. I do hope you have understood the lesson till here. The next part will be continued in the next week. So until then, do keep watching for more videos and do like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you and stay safe.